thanks for watching. And just a quick reminder that there is a new Merkabah Academy sale involving the flash drive as well as all the digital downloads. This sale will end on Sunday. A lot of you guys have been asking about the sale. Will it involve, the whole year with free downloads as well as the lifetime membership? This sale will not, but we have a few more spots open that we will let people in starting actually today. So if you want to get the Merkabah Academy membership as well as all the digital downloads for the year, the flash drive, and membership for life, we are taking in about 100 more spots, which will put us at 1,000, and it will end at 1,000. So anybody who wants to take advantage of that will have a chance to do so up until those 100 spots are filled, and that'll be the end of it. But regular membership, you can get in right now and at this price. The price will go up after this sale ends. We're getting close to that time, so I'm trying to get as much people on board as possible. And things are looking well. If you guys are still waiting for flash drives, they are on the way. Thanks for your patience and support. And let's get into this video. Getting into this video, and I told you guys, we would see this. We would see this in a lot of different ways with a lot of Christians and religious people starting to bring consciousness into Christianity. And again, once you start to decipher the Bible, this is what you're going to find. You're just going to find it. You're going to see it. The problem is, a lot of these Christians, they don't read the Bible. So they're not understanding that them meditating, hearing Christians talk about meditation and consciousness and energy and everything like that. And the Bible speaks against it. So, there is religious, spirituality as well as conscious spirituality. A lot of people won't like to mix religion with, spirituality, and any real conscious person understanding two can't go together. But religious people will, say they're spiritual people. Conscious people will say, we're all about spirituality. We're spiritual. Now, with religion and spirituality, you're only really confined to the religious, spirituality. You can't really pull in consciousness, because consciousness is being able to perceive what the religion is actually talking about and break it down and decipher it, which obviously, if you're calling yourself a Christian, you have not done so. So seeing so many, Christians start to come into the understanding of consciousness and meditation and everything like that is definitely something that is pissing a lot of conscious people off, because it's like, okay, well, if you're getting into this, then how are you not leaving the Jesus thing alone? And this is what you just have to do, if you're calling yourself a conscious person. It can't go hand in hand. Now, you can call yourself conscious and understand that you are, studying the Bible, and you understand that the parables of Jesus and everything like that, what he's talking about, is something that you need to look into. But you can't then go on with the understanding that, he's real and he actually existed and Moses existed and all this stuff is real that the Bible was talking about. And this is what's happening with a lot of Christians who's coming into consciousness and spirituality and trying to break it down and understand what it's all about, which is one of the reasons why, I put out the video to try to bridge that gap and get people to understand, what Jesus is really talking about, and that he's telling you, a million times in the book that, you are him. Now, when you read Deuteronomy 18:9-12, it says, when you come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominable practices of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering, anyone who practices divination, or tells fortunes, or interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or a charmer, or a medium, or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord, and because of these abominations, the Lord your God is driving them out before you. So what is divination? Divination, the practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown by supernatural means. Now, it's the same thing when you look at a charmer or a necromancer or a person who's considered a magician. These people are psychics. Psychics, plain and simple. We know psychics use astrology. They use the stars and everything like that to predict astrological symbols and things that happen astrologically for them to operate. So Leviticus 19:31 says, do not turn to mediums or necromancers, Do not seek them out. And so make yourselves unclean by them. I am the Lord your God. What's a medium? A medium is a psychic. And psychics, as I said, use these things. So when you want to get into true consciousness and spirituality, it involves astrology. It involves understanding the universe and understanding what's out there for you to really get into true consciousness. So you can't, on one hand, be considering yourself a Christian, practicing Christianity, and then say you're conscious and you meditate and you're taking in all of this conscious energy. It goes against the religion itself. So there's no such thing as a conscious Christian. You got to stop that movement before it gets, any kind of steam. There's a lot of people who's trying to embark on this whole thing and call themselves a conscious Christians, trying to, fit in with the conscious crowd and say that they're conscious and they understand what's going on, but still want to hold on to their Jesus. And you can't do both. You can't do both. Understanding, true spirituality is understanding true energy and what you really are in essence. And that's understanding that it's you, and exactly what the Bible is telling you, that look to yourself, which yourself will be you. Look inside yourself, your energy, and understand what that really is, to understand what, Christ's consciousness was all about, and that what your consciousness is all about is one and the same. And having that understanding is understanding that, one, there's not going to be Jesus or God or somebody that's coming to make things happen for you. Understand that energy that you have, that consciousness, is something that you control, and you have to manifest what you want in life, and you are going to be the one who's going to take control of your physical self to do what you need to do to accomplish what you want. Praying and begging and all that stuff is not going to get you anywhere you want to be, and it's something that's not conscious. That's something that you're using outside of yourself. One is trying to give you the understanding that you need to look within. Many times in the Bible, Jesus tells you to go in, look within yourself. You are a God. Didn't I say that you were gods? So on and so forth. It's all you, and that's what you have to get from the book. And by you not really reading and understanding what it's saying, accepting it, face value as if, this is all true story and it's real. If you're smart enough to understand that there are things in the book that is given to you on a conscious level, that's spiritual, that's, esoteric, then you're smart enough to understand that it's a parable. Jesus himself is a parable, and the stories are parables about things that have to do with energy, tracing back to ancient Kemet, where, they got the stuff from. So it's a lot more you got to dig into, a lot more you got to look at to really grasp what this stuff is about. And it has really nothing to do with, you being a Christian. That's just something that someone, created to get you to come on board to the religion. And you're attached to that. That's not you. Religion is allowing something outside of you, to control your energy. Now you have to abide by these laws and rules of your doctrine and religion in order for you to seek or to find or be in, true spirituality. That's not the freedom that conscious spirituality gives you. It allows you to understand, one, everything has to do with yourself. You got to look within yourself, know thyself, so on and so forth. Only you can be the one to get you to where you need to be. And as long as you understand that and follow that, you'll change the way you think about the Bible and everything else. You'll start to break down what this stuff really is talking about and where it's really pointing you to. So now when we look at, religious spirituality as it pertains to the Christian, it's this: the Holy Ghost, jumping around, acting crazy, saying that you believe in something outside of yourself, that's, Christ and he's coming back. That's the spirituality. Having this fake congregation of people who lie about who they are, saying that they do things that they do not do, saying that they are this and that, when everybody's in there are frauds. So when they leave the church, they become who they really are, and they only go to church because of fear, hope, guilt, or what have you. This is the spirituality. This is who you surround yourself by when you go into these churches. A preacher who's lying about him talking to the Holy Spirit and talking to God. A choir who was basically hyping you up and creating this energy within you that manifests into these so-called Holy Ghosts that people believe is God touching them. It's madness. This is not true conscious spirituality. Conscious spirituality is understanding that all this stuff is bullshit, that is bogus, and what it really is, that the church is the front. The preacher is there to make money. So while you may have people in there that believe, you have people who pour their heart out in church, and people that, they go there and they really expect to feel something and be a part of something, and it's not real. People walk right back out to church and face true stuff, real problems and issues that they've been going through for a long time, and because they're not getting that true message, nothing is happening. And they put themselves in those shoes as far as saying, it's me. I'm going against the book. I'm not being a Christian I should be. And by me keep going and me keep, giving money to the church, something is bound to happen. And then you have those who basically do what they need to do and get where they want to be at, and they give all the praise and glory to the church and to God when it's really them. And on the other hand, when you have, conscious spirituality, conscious people who understand what's going on, one, we automatically seek in knowledge exactly what the book is telling you. We automatically looking within ourselves exactly what the book is telling you. We automatically breaking down, this world and what's happening in this view, and seeing that it's a facade and it's something that's going on that's outside of us, that's basically put there to hinder us from reaching where we really should go, which same thing the book is telling you. Conscious spirituality is completely different. It's what you need to be understanding outside of that Bible, where you really want to be headed to basically get where you want to be at. So you have these Christians who are truly trying to seek spirituality, and they know that the Bible is not what they think it is. The fact that they are combining the two and trying to get spirituality out of it tells you that they're seeking something else, but they're too afraid to let go of the book. So the fact that you have that feeling, you should explore that more and keep digging and looking, instead of trying to combine two things that shouldn't be combined. Now, I understand there's a lot of people who are confused by, a lot of stuff that's going on. Like the whole conscious movement has been blowing up and being, it's really big now. You have a lot of people who are taking in a lot of information, a lot of people who want to know what's going on. A lot of people want to hear, the Hebrew doctrine, they go that way. A lot of people who just, doing a lot of conversion and no research. A lot of people who are hearing things and just switching instead of looking into exactly what's being said. But I want to answer a few questions. First one says here, Merkabah, Jesus was giving us a parable against what our pastors teach us. How come they don't know about it? They have all been teaching the same for a long time. They can't all be wrong. Now, one of the things people don't look at when you just compare, you've been to multiple churches. Some people like one pastor because he's more animated. Some like another pastor because he knows how to give like a really good sermon. But for the most part, these preachers, they put together a doctrine. They put together, a sermon. And sermon's going to be about particular verses or particular topic that they picked. Now, what you got to understand is these priests and preachers or what have you go to seminary. They go to school to learn how to teach the Bible. That should tell you something right there. It's a book to be read front to back. You started off with Genesis, you end in Revelations, and you should be teaching the congregation Genesis to Revelation. A lot of people have been going to the same church since they was a little kid, and they have never heard the entire book. They have never heard so many verses that the book is talking about that really pertains to their life, which is why a lot of people are doing things against the Bible and not knowing about it because they haven't read the book or they haven't been taught certain things that they should have been taught. And, a lot of people leave it to the preacher to tell them things about the Bible that, is going to pertain to their daily life. I shouldn't be doing this, I should be doing that, or what have you. And that's not being done because they themselves have not been taught correctly. They have been told, go in the book, you pick out a sermon or whatever you feel like you want to teach about that day, and they preach on that and use certain verses throughout the book to support what they're trying to teach. Nobody goes straight from Genesis to Revelation. If they did so, as I said, you would not be a Christian, because a lot of things in that book they don't want you to hear about women. As I talked about, when you read these verses, you can see clearly a lot of women will walk out of the church if they heard these verses. So it's so many things that you got to pick up on. Moses and them basically pedophiles and taking little women, children, and doing whatever, killing babies and infants. A lot of people would disagree with that, so they tiptoe around these verses. So you have to look at that in context and say, well, damn, you can understand why they, even if they wanted to, if they went into the book, they probably wouldn't teach the parables or what Jesus is trying to really convey to you, because one, they don't really understand it themselves, or two, they don't want to confuse anybody and have them question in the faith. It's something that they were taught in seminary as well. So for the most part, a lot of these guys just don't know. They don't understand. So an example would be the parable about Adam and Eve. And we understand, as I always say, you can't get a freaking woman from a man's rib. It's just not possible. But when you understand that Adam is the atom, and that the electron orbits the nucleus of an atom, and that orbit that the electron takes around the nucleus of the atom is called a rib. Plain and simple. Eve, evolution. Eve means before. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. Woman came before man. So it's the evolution of the atom to give you the woman when you really understand the parables. Not too many preachers going to pick up on that. Not too many preachers going to pick up on the fact that you have the firmament, talking about what is above and below the firmament, and that corresponds to something that they found back in Kemet. And then when you go back and look at where the Septuagint was created, being in Alexandria, Egypt, we can see you have them basically putting a book together in Egypt where they could have easily seen exactly what it's talking about. It's a lot of different parables that when you start to understand, outside of the Bible, it makes a lot of sense when you understand about, energy and astrology and everything the book is telling you to stay away from. So, to answer the question, one of the reasons why, they talking about the same thing is because they've been taught the same thing. One of the reasons why they don't, know or don't, teach us exactly the parable that Jesus is telling us is because they don't know. They put together a sermon to go with what they want to talk about, which is usually pertaining to some type of money. So it's just that simple. We can't really, expect them to know all this, because it goes against the religion. And then, any sane person, anybody who really reads the book is going to question what it's saying, and they're taught not to question it. And you got to really look at somebody who's not questioning a lot of these verses in the book, and definitely who is not talking about a lot of these verses in the book as, being suspect and having an ulterior motive. So now next question says, do you think Jesus was trying to give us true spirituality and his ministry was stopped and stolen and changed by Rome? And this is another question I get a lot. I get people in Hebrews talk about this all the time, about how the book has been changed, and that, Rome or the white man has given us, a different book, and they changed and they added things, and they took stuff out of the Bible, and they did this and they did that. And then you got someone say, well, the Bible is perfect, it's flawless, and we can prove that's not true as well. But you get a lot of people that look at it and say, well, I think Rome changed stuff, and it's not what it used to say, which I've proven that with Deuteronomy. When you look at the old Greek manuscripts and the old codices, how they differ from the King James Version. And it's been a lot of tampering. As I showed you, you have Bibles, in English, all the way from John Wycliffe all the way up to, King Henry the Eighth and everything like that. All these people in between that gave us books. Different. Why so many different books? Why so many changes? Why so many things that should be the same that are not? So we got to look at that and question. Okay, yeah, of course, Rome had the hand. Rome was the one who basically introduced this whole thing, and to say that they took Jesus' ministry and changed it, you would still have to prove that Jesus exists. The key is this: for everybody who believe that something was changed or altered or what have you, why are you guys still following the book? Why aren't you trying to do the research? Why are you still saying, okay, well, this is true? If you question one thing in a book, you got to question the entire book. And you got to keep in mind that, one, the book requires faith because it has no proof. Plain and simple. It requires faith because there's no proven validity to what the book is saying. The book itself is in question. Plain and simple. So how are people still harping on it and still following as if it's proven history when it's not? You get a lot of Hebrews who want to hold on to just the Old Testament because Jesus comes along and kind of take away the fact that the Hebrews was set apart, in the Old Testament. And Jesus comes to say, everybody can be saved and everybody is equal or what have you. But again, we got to still look at that doctrine, and we got to look at how we got it. Looking at the history, again, a lot of people think the Ethiopians had the Bible, and that just because the Ethiopians had an old Bible, has somehow some validity to it because, Africa's involved. when, again, as I talked about before, the Ethiopian Bible, the Abhagarama Bible was written by Byzantine royal Abhagarama, who translated it from a Greek version. So we still have the Greeks involved with that. Again, the question would be, why would you follow a doctrine that was basically taught to us during slavery? And that's the part people can't get around. Ephesians 6:5 talks about, slaves obey your earthly masters with fear and trembling as you would Christ. To me, that verse alone should have black people like scratching their head, like, what are we doing? Obey our earthly masters as you would Christ, equating slave master to Christ, a man to Christ. You should be questioning that right there and thinking about, what is that? And then you get people to say, well, it's changed. That didn't really say that. Well, if you believe that, then you should question everything else in the book. It's just that simple. King James gave us his version. It's called the King James Version. His version. A version is a version that's, basically going to fit what somebody's giving us. It's not the truth. It's not the original, which we never had. And everything should be in question. Forget Rome. The book itself is in question. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is in question. Jesus is in question. Mary, Moses, everybody. It's no proof. It's nothing there. So what the fuck? Like, why are we worried about Rome? It's no proof. You got to question everything. And once you start doing that, and then start taking things back, the real actual history reveals the validity of the book, which shows you clearly where it came from, as I've been talking about, the Greeks. So I'll take this last question. It says, what do you think about the Nag Hammadi manuscripts the Gnostics use? Could they have been what people were using before Rome in their religious books? So Nag Hammadi manuscripts, found in 1945, 2 years before they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. Nag Hammadi manuscripts is of Gnostic origin, they say, and they talk about, evil and flesh, and Jesus is in there, and how it's a whole completely different story about the life of Jesus and everything, and how they paint him as this evil person, and the doctrine basically reversed the roles and put Satan as the good guy, and God and Jesus as the bad people, being as though they created us and trapped us in this flesh, and flesh is evil, the material is evil. And the Nag Hammadi manuscripts is so on point with a lot of things when you begin to understand that, this whole situation that we are in, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it really plays to that point that with us being these energetic beings trapped in this primitive flesh with no real access to what we should be able to do, and that, having the gnosis, the knowledge, once we have that, we're able to access and tap into these powers. But, this God is basically trying to stop that. Take it back to the Garden of Eden story. Same type of situation where you have, don't eat from the tree, don't touch these fruit, don't touch that. You're going to become like gods. So you can see where the story began to manifest, and how you can compare the two. Now, as far as it being the original or the doctrine that people follow at some point could have possibly been, who knows? It probably wasn't around for a long time. Could have probably been prototype for the Bible or something that they wanted to put out. Clearly it's esoteric and a whole bunch of hidden meanings within the book. They don't even really talk about it. We hear everything about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Nobody talks about the Nag Hammadi manuscripts. It's not on display and toured around the whole world the way the Dead Sea Scrolls is. They're not selling pieces of it, so you got to think about that. It's a deep book, and I think a lot of people should really get into what the Gnostics was talking about. It's really esoteric and on point with consciousness and what's really going on. But, questions like this, about the book and teachings of the book, everything points to questioning. And that's a good thing to me. When you question a doctrine, you have questions about, what this stuff is, and everybody seems like they're trying to put the puzzle together and figure it out and be on the right side. And you just got some people who just stubborn and don't want to really look into anything and want to follow what's been told to us, to follow. And then now, for the most part, what mostly every Christian is doing is they're making up their own shit. They're making it up as they go along. Well, the Bible says this, and I'm going to believe that because it fits my lifestyle. Even though the book is against just about everything that you're doing, people going to defend it because it fits their lifestyle. And that's what a lot of religious people are trying to do, is have the doctrine fit their lifestyle so they can feel like they're not doing nothing wrong. It's really up to you guys to accept what you want to accept as truth, you know. Even reading the book or listen to me or anybody else and the information that's being put out there, you at the end of the day have to accept it. You have to accept it as fact. You have to accept it as bullshit, what have you. You can't accept it to fit your lifestyle because you just want to be who you are. You know, you got to accept truth or you got to accept faith. You got to accept something. You can't combine the two. You can't have facts mixed with fiction and call that your truth. You know, you got to pick. So what it is a lot of people wanting to jump on board the conscious train, you know, and just say, oh, I'm conscious or I'm woke. You know what I'm saying? And you sleep as hell. You're knocked out because you're still Jesus, you know. And until you get off of that, until you stop holding on to the religious part of it, because religion is those chains, you know, those chains that we was locked in and forced to basically bear the knowledge of this book. You know, we would have never known about the shit that we've been dealing with it if it wasn't for slavery, if it wasn't for, you know, them coming in and giving us this book, giving us this information about this Jesus and this religion or what have you. Africans was not dealing with none of this shit. Was not involved in it. This is something that they brought to us, and history supports it. Everything is there. Now, a lot of people just want to ignore that fact, but let's keep it real. We were in slavery in America. We were taught about this Bible, about this Jesus that's supposed to be this savior or what have you. This is one of the reasons why a lot of Christians switch over to Hebrew, the Hebrew Israelites, because it's the only way it makes sense for us to be in, you know, bondage and be in slavery for so long, and supposedly there's this God that's good and everything like that. Why would he allow that for so long? You know, the only thing that make that fit is the Hebrew doctrine. And this is why a lot of people are like, oh, okay, so I see why we was in there, because they don't want to believe in their heart that this Jesus that they've been following and that they love or say they love is wrong, and that this doctrine is wrong, because that don't make sense. That's the part that blows it out of the water, where you have this Jesus that talk about love, peace, mercy, forgiveness, yet he condones slavery. We've been enslaved for hundreds of years, and we're going through this hell we're going through with these, you know, ruling white folks, and we trying to figure out why. You know, why isn't God answering our calls? Why aren't we doing this? And a lot of people want to run to the Hebrew doctrine because it fits all of that. How convenient that it does. But again, when you look at Bible verses that says, obey your slave master as you would Christ, suspect. When you look at just all of the carnage, the wrongdoing, the evil that's in the book, it's crazy. You have people that don't want to believe that, you know, God is capable of evil, when if you read the book, it's right there. Plain and simple. So, case in point, I'll give you Judges 9:23. If you have my Bible series, you know about this. Then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem, and the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech. So it says God sent an evil spirit. 1 Samuel 16:14 says the spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him. You can also find verses that's talking about this in 1 Samuel 16:15, 16, 23, 18, 19, 9, and so many verses. There are so many things in the book to challenge and question what you have been taught about the book. But if you don't read it, you're never going to figure it out. If you don't do the research, you're never going to figure it out. You're going to be just as confused as these people walking around with an ankh on and a cross on. These people walking around talking about meditation and consciousness with a cross on and Jesus tattoos or what have you. There's a lot of confused people out there who are too lazy to take the time to actually do the research, who don't want to really get into this information. But, you know, your spiritual self is going to be seeking it. There's going to be something seeking that truth, and it's up to you to fulfill that, to find it. And I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and thanks to everybody who has been supporting. There's a lot, as I said, that's been going on, a lot that I'm doing, trying to get the site off the ground and everything, you know, running. It's going to be a lot more DVDs coming out. The Bible series, of course, going to continue. There's a lot more coming up, a lot that's going to be happening. So I really appreciate you guys being patient and supportive, and really being invested and interested in Merkabah Academy and everything that's going to entail. which is going to be a lot. So I appreciate the support. Definitely take advantage of the sale while it's available. And I'll see you guys next video. Thanks for watching.